Good morning. It's another beautiful morning, and today we're going to talk about actually the success of our O1-A case that we got yesterday. I told everyone, all of our listeners and our followers, that we received an approval. You know, it's so fun. You wake up in the morning and you barely opened your eyes, and obviously the first thing you do is you always check your WhatsApps and your emails, and then you see a WhatsApp from our group, from our office group, to say that the case was approved, and we start doing the little dance in the morning. And we're like, yeah, you know why? Because we put so much effort into these cases. And when you get that little tiny approval, you know, obviously, that the client is waiting for it, and the family's waiting for it, and the company's waiting for it. But as the lawyer, you just want to know, yeah, did a great job. So that was what we did for the O1-A. It was a European business associate. He had got a job for a company in the US that had just acquired a new company. So they didn't have very strong structure in the UK. They'd missed the H1 quota, which starts in April. And so they didn't want to wait for next year. It's immediate. He needs to move there with the family, obviously get everybody ready in schools by July, August. So we looked at all the options, and we saw that the O1 could be relevant to him. So we looked at the criteria, and basically you've got about 8 categories. Look, if you've won an international award or a Pulitzer, or you get it straight away. But this isn't an international award. So we looked at some of the criteria, and what did we find? We found that he had filled great, distinguished, critical positions in companies in the past. Just by reading his LinkedIn, he could do that. But when we asked him to give us a couple of reference letters from places that he'd worked in the past, the reference letters spoke for themselves. So that was the first position, fulfilling one of the criteria. We asked him for his salary in his past previous companies, according to his resume, and he could show us a higher than average salary. So box number 2, we fill that one. We had obviously the employment agreement for his new position as the CEO of this new company. That showed that he will be in a high employed position and has an itinerary of what he's planning to do in the US and is required there. So that's great. So we already marked 3. So we have 3 out of 8, but we always like to give a few more. We looked at some of the achievements of some of the companies that he'd worked with in the past. He has actually not really been mentioned that much because he likes to be below the radar. But what we did find is that some of the companies that he'd worked for had good achievements, had publication, and he was mentioned there as part of those achievements. So great. So we have a couple of published media around him. He'd also actually himself, during his earlier career, he'd actually written a book himself about business. And so we went to the bookstore and we found the actual book that he'd written and published. Look, it's not a bestseller, right? But I mean, it goes under the criteria of contribution to the industry. Look, I mean, what's more than contribution to the industry? Writing a book about business. So we went that. So he decided, when we had the case together, which looked like a really good case, to go for premium, which means that we're paying an additional $2,805 to the authorities, but they're going to give us a response within 15 days. So the company obviously needed him there, as soon as possible. So we went for the premium. It worked. We got the response. I think according to the submission date, it was within less than 10 or 12 days. So how great is that, right? You work really hard. You put it together. We get the result within 10 days. What's going to happen now is we need to wait a couple of days till that goes into the actual USCIS system. Once that goes into the system, we can then book him an appointment at his local embassy where he lives in his country. He's going to go there with his wife, with his kids, show a couple of passports, birth certificates to show that they're actually his kids, marriage certificate to show that that's his wife, the official documentation. The embassy will just do a quick check to check that he's not has any background or immigration issues, and they will look online to see that the USCIS has put the approval in their system. Once they can actually acknowledge that the USCIS has put the approval of his of his O1-A into the system. It's always good to have the document I-797C. C means that it's actually been approved. And once he can show that, basically he leaves his passports, couple of days in the embassy. You can always be nice to them and ask them, can you speed up the case, please, just a little bit? But they don't always have to appreciate that. And they say, look, we've got our workload and we have to wait. And then once that happens, then afterwards they'll send you back your passports. And then you can get on the plane. You can proudly show at the port of entry in the US that you have been approved your visa. And you can start work straight away. So great news about that one. And if you've got any questions about the O1-A, put them in the comments below and we'll be happy to help you on that. Take care, guys. Have a great day.